Africa, the second largest continent on Earth, boasts unparalleled diversity and cultural richness across its vast expanse. With numerous countries and a mosaic of languages, traditions, and ethnic groups, it stands as a testament to human civilization's tapestry. Greetings, viewers. Join us on a condensed journey into the heart of East Africa's captivating diverse history, colonial legacies, and intricate geopolitics. In this exploration, we unravel the lasting impact of colonial boundaries on state formations and ensuing challenges. From Eritrea's independence struggle to Ethiopia's unique multinational federation and the Afar people's plight amid territorial disputes, we navigate through compelling narratives. Exploring Ethiopia's potential claims on the Asab Port and the complex dynamics of its multinational federation, we aim to highlight the interplay of historical contexts and present complexities shaping East Africa's destiny. Before we dive in, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give us a thumbs up to support our mission of delivering insightful content. Let's embark together on a condensed journey uncovering the layers of East Africa's intricate history. The impact of colonial boundaries in Africa, particularly in East Africa, has been profound and far-reaching. The colonial era's disregard for the consent, interests, and cultural makeup of the concerned people has led to competing nationalisms, conflicting state formations, territorial disputes, and the rise of ultranationalism. Ethiopia's state formation, characterized by competing ultranationalism and plural or self-determinationist nationalism, has further complicated the region's dynamics. Additionally, Eritrea, formed as a state based on colonial boundaries predominantly demarcated by the Italians, faces challenges due to its diverse population and the fear of losing territories to Ethiopia. This article explores the reasons behind the Eritrean government's firm opposition to Ethiopia's multinational federal structure, examines the consequences of colonial boundaries on state formations in East Africa, and delves into Ethiopia's potential claims over Red Sea Afar territories, including Asab Port. The colonial boundaries imposed by European powers have had significant ramifications on the state formations in East Africa, including Ethiopia. The artificial borders often divided ethnically related communities, resulting in inter-ethnic conflicts and tensions. For example, the Tigrinya-speaking people find themselves separated between Tigray region of Ethiopia and Tigrinya peoples in Eritrea, leading to complex identity and citizenship issues. Moreover, the colonial boundaries created states with weak national identities, as people within these artificial borders often share little in common. This has hindered nation building and created challenges in implementing policies that benefit all citizens. The consequences of colonial boundaries are evident in Ethiopia's struggles with ethnic fragmentation, political marginalization, and conflict. Nations or ethnic groups such as the Oromos in Oromia state of Ethiopia, Boran, Gabra, Orma, and Gari clans of Oromo in Kenya, the Isa clans of Somali in Ethiopia, and Djibouti, the Kunama-speaking people of Ethiopia's Tigray region and Eritrea, and the Afars of the Afar region in Ethiopia and the Red Sea Afars. Under Eritrean administration, and Afars in Djibouti have faced inequality and marginalization due to these colonial legacies. Political power has been disproportionately distributed among certain groups, leading to grievances and tensions. The legacy of Ethiopia's role in setting colonial boundaries in Africa is complex. On the one hand, Ethiopia was able to use its independence to argue for the creation of boundaries that respected the ethnic and cultural divisions of Africa. On the other hand, the European powers were able to exploit Ethiopia's weakness and carve up much of Africa, creating boundaries that have had a negative impact on Ethiopia itself and the continent to this day. Here are some specific examples of Ethiopia's role in setting colonial boundaries. In 1897, Ethiopia and Britain negotiated the Anglo-Ethiopian Agreement, which established Ethiopia's borders with British Somaliland and Kenya. In 1900, Ethiopia and France negotiated the Franco-Ethiopian Agreement, which established Ethiopia's borders with French Somaliland. In 1906, Ethiopia and Italy negotiated the Treaty of Wishale, which gave Italy control over parts of Ethiopia. The colonial boundaries that were set in East Africa during the late 19th and early 20th centuries have had a lasting impact on the region. These boundaries often divided ethnic groups and created new political entities with no or little common values. They also made it difficult for countries to develop economically and to resolve conflicts peacefully. In 1950, the United Nations, influenced by the United States, decided to integrate Eritrea into Ethiopia within 2 years. The proposed federation aimed to grant Eritrea autonomy with its own constitution and elected government. The 1952 elections gave the Unionist Party the most seats, but not a majority, leading to a coalition government with a Muslim faction. The Eritrean constitution, created with UN input and Emperor Haile Selassie II's consultation, was adopted in 1952. However, the federal arrangement was short-lived due to Ethiopian resistance. The constitution sought ethnic and religious equilibrium, making Tigrinya and Arabic official languages and allowing communities to choose their children's educational language. Ethiopia's interference disrupted this balance, leading to the marginalization of Muslims and the suppression of separatist tendencies. Ethiopia aimed to erase traces of Eritrean autonomy, harassing independence movement leaders and suppressing attempts to form autonomous organizations. Political parties and trade unions were banned in the late 1950s and early 1960s. In 1962, Eritrea's federal status was abolished, making it an Ethiopian province. Tigrinya was replaced by Amharic in education, reflecting Ethiopia's oppressive policies. The suppression of trade unions fueled discontent, and Eritrean workers rallied to the nationalist movement. The banning of Tigrinya in education pushed Christian students towards nationalism. Christians began joining the Eritrean Liberation Front, ELF, in the late 1960s, contributing to the organization's expansion into the Central Highlands. By 1972, internal conflicts led to the formation of the Eritrean Liberation Front People's Liberation Forces, ELF-PLF. After various splits and mergers, it transformed into the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, EPLF, in the 1970s, adopting a Marxist and secular ideology. Decades of war forged unity among Eritreans. In 1993, a referendum resulted in an overwhelming vote for Eritrean independence. Isaias Afwerki, the Secretary General of the EPLF, became president of the transitional government. And on May 24, 1993, Eritrea officially declared independence. This independence, however, resulted in a geographical division that left the same ethnic groups, Tigray or Tigrinya peoples, Kunama, Arab or Saho people, and Afar, straddling two different countries, Ethiopia and Eritrea. The historical journey of Eritrea, marked by struggles and triumphs, reflects the complex interplay of colonial imprints, geopolitical influences, and the resilience of its people. The Eritrean government, colloquially known as Shabia, has steadfastly opposed Ethiopia's multinational federal structure since its inception with the 1991 Charter. Central to this opposition is the apprehension that the identity and language-based federal framework may fuel ethnic nationalism, especially among nations and peoples separated from their linguistic and cultural counterparts. Such concerns pose a perceived threat to Eritrea's national unity and territorial integrity. The historical context of colonial borders exacerbates this unease as ethnic groups find themselves divided across nations, sparking tensions and conflicts over territorial claims. The Eritrean government fears that the multinational federal structure might encourage ethnic groups within Eritrea to align with their counterparts in Ethiopia or potentially lead to Ethiopia seeking annexation of Eritrean territories shared in identity, language, culture, and sometimes religion. Additionally, the Eritrean government's ideological resistance to power sharing among ethnic groups underpins its opposition to the multinational federal structure. As a one-party state, it aims to maintain singular authority over Eritrea, conflicting with the principles of decentralization and power devolution inherent in Ethiopia's federal model. Eritrea's decision to harbor and support diverse forces, even those in opposition, is rooted in its historical opposition to Ethiopia's federal structure and the lingering border dispute that claimed thousands of lives in the late 1990s. The Pretoria Agreement marked the end of a destructive two-year war. Yet allegations persist that Eritrea supports groups like the Fano Amhara militants, complicating recent agreements between the TPLF and the federal government. President Isaias Afwerki's persistent opposition to Ethiopia's multinational federation is deeply intertwined with historical tensions and conflicts between the two nations. Eritrea's independence in 1993, following a protracted armed struggle, left lasting animosity and mistrust. Ethiopia's pursuit of a multinational federation offering self-rule to diverse ethnic groups raises concerns for Eritrea's territorial integrity, as it fears similar demands for self-rule among its own ethnic groups, potentially fostering instability and separatism. It is essential to acknowledge that not all Eritreans share the government's opposition to the federal structure. Some Eritreans support the idea, seeing it as a pathway to regional peace and stability. However, the government's stance has hindered these voices from gaining prominence. The complex historical backdrop and ongoing geopolitical dynamics continue to shape the intricate relationship between Eritrea and Ethiopia, significantly influencing Eritrea's position on the internal governance structures of its neighbor. The colonial boundaries in the Red Sea region have also contributed to complexities and disputes over territory. The Afar people, living along the southeastern Red Sea coast and on the Dahlak Islands, find themselves divided between Eritrea, Djibouti, and the Afar region of Ethiopia. This division has raised concerns about territorial claims and potential irredentism. Eritrea's Asab Port, a strategic location on the Red Sea coast, has been a point of contention. Ethiopia's potential claim over the port is rooted in historical, cultural identity and economic factors. Access to the Red Sea is vital for Ethiopia's landlocked economy, and the ownership of Asab Port could significantly impact Ethiopia's trade and development. Asab is located in Afar inhabited area of southern Eritrea, only around 60 kilometers away from the Ethiopian border, along the Afar region border. The Afar people are a Cushitic-speaking ethnic group who inhabit the Horn of Africa. They are the largest ethnic group in Ethiopia's Afar region, and they also have significant populations in Eritrea and Djibouti. The Afar people have been marginalized in all three countries. They have been denied political representation, economic opportunities, and access to basic services. In Eritrea, the Afar people have been subjected to forced labor and arbitrary detention. In Djibouti, the Afar people have been displaced from their land and denied citizenship. The Afar people aspire to unite under the constitutionally speaking, self-governing Afar region of Ethiopia. They believe that this would allow them to better represent their interests and to improve their lives. However, the Ethiopian government has been reluctant to grant the Afar people greater autonomy. The marginalization of the Afar people is a serious human rights issue. It is important to ensure that the Afar people have the same rights and opportunities as other citizens of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. Here are some of the reasons why the Afar people have been marginalized in these countries. Colonial legacy. The Afar people were marginalized by colonial powers who divided their territory between Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. This division made it difficult for the Afar people to unite and to assert their rights. Government policies. The governments of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti have all pursued policies that have marginalized the Afar people. These policies have included forced displacement, denial of citizenship, and restrictions on political participation. Political marginalization. The Afar people are a minority in all three countries where they live, and they have little political representation. This makes it difficult for them to advocate for their interests. Human rights abuses. The Afar people have been subjected to human rights abuses in all three countries where they live. This includes arbitrary detention, torture, and forced displacement. Economic exploitation. The Afar region is rich in natural resources, but the Afar people have not benefited from these resources. The governments of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti have exploited these resources for their own benefit. Cultural and religious discrimination. The Afar people have been subjected to cultural and religious discrimination in all three countries where they live. This includes the destruction of Afar cultural sites and the suppression of Afar religious practices. The marginalization of the Afar people is a complex issue with no easy solutions. However, it is important to raise awareness of this issue and to work towards ensuring that the Afar people have the same rights and opportunities as other citizens of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. Despite these challenges, the Afar people are determined to achieve their goals. They have a strong sense of identity and culture, and they are committed to their struggle for self-determination. The Afar people's struggle is an important one, and it is worth following closely. The Ethiopian Multinational Federation refers to the system of governance in Ethiopia that recognizes and respects the diversity of ethnic groups within the country since 1991. It is based on the principles of self-determination, autonomy, and shared rule among different nations and ethnic communities. Ethiopia is home to more than 80 different nations and ethnic groups, each with its own distinct language, culture, traditions, geographical area, and above all, a distinct identity. the Multinational Federation, aims to ensure equal representation and participation of these diverse groups in the political, social, and economic spheres of the country. Under this system, Ethiopia is divided into 9 regional states, which are demarcated based on identity, language, geography, and consent of the people's lines. Each regional state has its own constitution, flag, and the right to self-administration. The regional states have varying degrees of autonomy and are responsible for their governance, including the power to legislate on matters within their jurisdiction. The Ethiopian Multinational Federation has been established to promote unity, equality, and peaceful coexistence among the various ethnic groups in the country. However, it has also faced challenges and criticisms, particularly regarding issues of power sharing, resource distribution, and ethnic tensions. Ethiopia's Multinational Federation has the potential to be a tool for peaceful integration of East Africa by reconfiguring colonial boundaries to best serve the interests of indigenous people. The Federation is a system of government in which power is shared between the federal government and 9 ethnically based regional states. This system was designed to give a measure of self-determination to Ethiopia's many ethnic groups, and it has helped to reduce ethnic tensions in the country. If the Multinational Federation were to be extended to other East African countries, it could help to promote regional stability by recognizing and respecting the diversity of ethnic groups within each nation. This could involve redrawing colonial boundaries to reflect ethnic and cultural realities, allowing for the creation of autonomous regions with a degree of self-governance. Such a model could be particularly relevant for countries like Kenya, which has a diverse ethnic makeup, or South Sudan, which has faced internal conflicts along ethnic lines. By adopting a multinational federation, these countries could address historical injustices, empower marginalized groups, and promote a more inclusive and equitable system of governance. However, implementing such a model would require careful consideration of each country's unique context, and it would need to be pursued through peaceful and democratic processes. The extension of a multinational federation beyond Ethiopia would also require political will and cooperation among regional leaders. In conclusion, the impact of colonial boundaries in East Africa, especially in Ethiopia and Eritrea, has been profound and complex. It has influenced state formations, ethnic relations, and geopolitical dynamics, leading to enduring challenges and conflicts. The Ethiopian Multinational Federation, while facing its own set of challenges, presents a potential model for peaceful integration in the region, emphasizing self-determination and shared governance. Addressing historical injustices and recognizing the rights of diverse ethnic groups could contribute to stability and cooperation in East Africa, East Africa's history, colonial legacies, and geopolitics explored. From Eritrea's struggle to Ethiopia's unique federation, we unraveled complexities. Share your thoughts in the comments on what intrigued you most and suggest historical topics for future explorations. Your feedback drives our curiosity. Subscribe and activate notifications for more enlightening journeys into the world's depths. Thanks for being part of our community. Until next time, we are Digital Oromia, signing off. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring our world's rich tapestry. See you in the next adventure.